There was once a potter in a quiet mountain village who made the most beautiful bowls anyone had ever seen. But he kept one bowl hidden beneath his workbench. He never displayed it, never sold it, never let anyone see it, because that bowl was cracked. His name was Haruto. He had been a potter for 30 years. His hands were calloused and stained with clay. His small workshop sat at the edge of the village, beside a narrow river that whispered through smooth stones. Every morning before sunrise, he would sit at his wheel. Every evening after dark, he would sit there still. His bowls were known across 3 valleys. People traveled for days just to hold one in their hands. The glaze caught the light in a way that made even simple people stop and go quiet. But Haruto never felt proud. He felt like a man standing behind a painted wall, showing the world something beautiful while hiding something he was ashamed of. The cracked bowl had been his first. He had made it at 17, still learning, still clumsy. A hairline fracture had split across its base. Barely visible, but to Haruto, it was all he could see. His father had told him to throw it away. He didn't. He kept it. Not because he loved it, but because throwing it away felt like admitting something he wasn't ready to admit about himself. Years passed. The workshop grew. His reputation spread. But every night, he would glance beneath the workbench and feel the same low, quiet weight in his chest. One autumn morning, an old monk appeared at the doorway of the workshop. He was small and thin. His robe was faded, his sandals worn through at the heel. He carried nothing except a cloth bag worn across one shoulder. "I heard there is a great potter here," the monk said. Haruto gestured to the shelves. "Look at anything you like." The monk moved slowly around the workshop, examining each bowl with patience. He turned them carefully, held them toward the light, set them down gently. Then he crouched beside the workbench and looked underneath. Haruto felt his face go still. "This one," the monk said quietly. "That one is not for sale," Haruto said. "I didn't ask to buy it," the monk replied. "I only asked to hold it." Haruto did not know why he said yes. Something in the old man's voice. Something steady. Something that did not press. The monk sat on the low wooden stool near the door. He held the cracked bowl in both hands. He did not look at the shelves of perfect bowls. He looked only at this one. For a long time he said nothing. The river moved outside. A bird called from the pine trees. The morning light shifted slowly across the clay floor. Finally the monk spoke. "Do you know the practice of kintsugi?" Haruto shook his head. "It is an old art," the monk said. "When a bowl breaks, instead of hiding the cracks or throwing it away, we repair it with gold. We make the cracks visible. We make them beautiful." He turned the bowl gently. His finger traced the hairline fracture along the base. "The bowl does not become more valuable despite the crack," the monk said. "It becomes more valuable because of it." Haruto did not respond, but something moved in his chest, like a stone shifting at the bottom of a river. He looked at the bowl in the old man's hands. Really looked at it, maybe for the first time in 30 years. He had spent 3 decades hiding it. He had spent 3 decades thinking the crack made it lesser. He had never once considered that the crack might be the most honest thing about it. That evening, after the monk had gone, Haruto sat alone in his workshop for a long time. He did not sit at the wheel. He sat beside the workbench. He thought about all the years he had carried something he was ashamed of. Not just the bowl. His temper when he was young. The way he sometimes spoke too sharply to his son. The years he had been too proud to ask for help. The morning he had failed to go to his father before his father died. He had kept all of it hidden beneath the workbench. He had spent his whole life making beautiful things for the world while carrying quiet fractures he refused to show anyone. The next morning, he walked to the market and bought a small vial of gold lacquer. His hands were slow and careful. He sat at the workbench, not his wheel, not the place where he made things for the world, just the small wooden table where he sat alone. And he filled the crack. Took most of the morning. The lacquer was thin and required patience. He had to let it settle before he could add more. He had to resist the urge to rush. When he was finished, he set the bowl on the shelf in the light. The crack ran from base to rim in a thin line of gold. Caught the sunlight. It shimmered softly. It did not look repaired. It looked transformed. His son came to the workshop that afternoon. He was 22 now, quiet in the way young men are when they carry things they don't know how to say. He stopped when he saw the bowl on the shelf. "Is that the old one?" he asked. Haruto nodded. His son picked it up. He turned it. He looked at the gold seam running through the clay. "Why did you keep it all these years?" he asked. Haruto was quiet for a moment. "Because I was ashamed of it," he said finally. "And because throwing it away felt like throwing away a part of myself." His son looked at him, not with pity, not with confusion, with something quieter than either of those things. "I think a lot of people are walking around hiding their cracks," the son said softly. Haruto looked at his son, and for the first time in a very long time, he felt something loosen inside him, like a rope that had been holding something down too long. In the weeks that followed, something changed in Haruto's workshop. He started making different bowls. Not perfect ones. Not the smooth, flawless pieces that had made him famous. He started making bowls with history. Bowls with texture. Bowls that looked like they had lived. Some he would crack deliberately, then fill with gold. People came from further away than before. They would stand in the workshop holding these new bowls and go quiet. Not the polite quiet of admiring a beautiful object. A different quiet. The kind that happens when something reaches inside you and touches something you forgot was there. One woman held a bowl for a long time without speaking. When she finally set it down, there were tears on her face. "It feels like me," she said simply. Haruto nodded. He understood. He placed the original cracked bowl, the first bowl, the 30-year-old bowl with its vein of gold, at the center of the highest shelf. Not hidden. Not behind other things. Right where anyone could see it. Visitors always asked about it. He would tell them it was his first bowl, that he had almost thrown it away, that it had taught him the most important thing he knew. They would ask what that was, and he would say calmly and without drama, "The things you are most ashamed of are often the things that make you most real." Years later, when he was very old and could no longer sit at the wheel, he would sit in the doorway of the workshop and watch the river. His son had taken over the clay. The shelves were full, but the first bowl still sat at the center of the highest shelf. Golden crack catching the light of every morning. He never stopped looking at it. Not with the old heaviness in his chest, but with something that felt finally like peace. We spend so much of our lives hiding the cracks, trying to appear whole, trying to look finished, trying to show the world only the parts of ourselves that gleam. But the bowls that stop people in doorways, the ones that make strangers go quiet and say "this feels like me," are never the perfect ones. They are the ones that broke, and were made whole again, with gold. The crack is not where you are broken. It is where the light gets in, and where others finally see themselves in you.